In the tiny Irish village of Bellstown, the locals still whisper about the man who pulled off a massive $600,000 heist in broad daylight. The most mind-blowing part? He didn't carry a gun. He didn't wear a mask. And after pulling it off, he just walked around completely free. The police couldn't touch a single hair on his head because everything he did was 100% perfectly legal. Welcome to another video from Voxen TV. If you love stories like this, hit that subscribe button. It's the easiest way to keep us bringing you more. This man's name was Barney Curley, a brilliant, mysterious, and utterly cunning gambler. He was so notoriously clever that the moment bookmakers even heard his name, they would completely shut down all bets. He didn't just find the loopholes in the system. He weaponized them using sheer intelligence. This is the astonishing 1975 legend that the world now remembers as the Yellow Sam betting coup. It was June 26th, 1975. About 16 miles outside Dublin, the small village of Bellastown was buzzing with excitement. A horse race was about to start, the crowds were placing their bets, and the bookies were taking their positions at the track. But Barney Curley was absolutely nowhere to be seen. Instead of mingling in the crowd, he was hiding deep inside thick, thorny bushes inside the racecourse, silently waiting for the race to begin. He was hiding specifically from the bookies. Barney was so infamous in the gambling world that if the bookies even caught a glimpse of him or realized one of his horses was running, they would instantly go on high alert, slash the odds, or shut down betting entirely. But the master plan he was about to execute that day was the most dangerous and brilliant move of his entire life. Barney Curley was the kind of guy who didn't even spare his own father. His dad, Charlie Curley, was a greyhound trainer who made his living gambling on his own dog. Charlie's trick was simple. He would take his slowest dog, secretly drug it to make it run faster, and then bet all his money on it at the last second to trick the bookies and score a massive payout. Barney knew exactly what his dad was doing. When Barney was just a 15-year-old kid, his dad gave him a piece of drugged meat and told him to feed it to the dog before a big race. But Barney intentionally threw the meat away. The next day, the dog lost terribly and his dad lost a fortune. But one person walked away incredibly happy: Barney. He had secretly fed the drugged meat to a totally different dog and placed a massive bet on it himself. By double-crossing his own father, Barney won his very first bet, pocketing 50 pounds, which is roughly $500 today. If a kid is willing to hustle his own dad on his first bet, you can only imagine what he was about to do to the rest of the world. In horse racing, the payout rate is set by the bookmakers based on the horse's chances of winning. If a horse is slow with a terrible track record, its odds of winning are incredibly low, so the bookies give it the highest payout rate, like 20 to 1. This means if you bet $1,000, you win $20. Conversely, the fastest horse, the crowd favorite, gets the lowest payout rate because everyone is betting on it. The ultimate jackpot is betting on the absolute worst horse on the track at the highest possible odds and having that horse somehow win the race. Charlie spent his whole life drugging his dogs to manipulate these odds and cheat the bookies. Because gambling wasn't heavily regulated back then, the rules were incredibly loose. But in 1956, a disaster struck that buried Charlie in a mountain of debt. He drugged his dog as usual and bet everything he had on it. But this time, the drug backfired. The dog didn't just lose, it collapsed and broke its spine mid-race. Barney was 16 at the time, and watching his father lose absolutely everything scarred him. The family was instantly thrown into crushing poverty. Barney had to drop out of school and take a brutal factory job just to help pay off his father's massive gambling debts. For 18 agonizing months, every single penny they earned went straight into the pockets of the ruthless bookies. This dark, soul-crushing period showed Barney the true, terrifying reality of gambling. After that, Barney tried his hand at dozens of legal businesses, but everything ended in failure. He opened a betting shop, then a pub, and even tried music management, but nothing worked. He even resorted to smuggling razor blades across the border until a terrifying shootout scared him straight. But his heart never left horse racing and gambling. Finally, he decided to enter the professional gambling world. He had hustled his dad for his first win, and now he was ready to hustle the world. By 1975, he was deeply entrenched in the gambling scene. Sometimes his tricks worked and he made a killing. Other times, he drowned in debt. He became so infamous that bookies would literally panic when they saw him. They either refused to take his bets or instantly tanked the odds on whatever horse he chose. At this exact moment, Barney was drowning in 12,000 pounds of debt. There was only one way out, and it required the most brilliant, chaotic plan ever conceived. Barney reached out to an old friend and bought a horse with a famously terrible track record. He renamed the horse Yellow Sam, which happened to be his father's old nickname. Yellow Sam's record was an absolute joke. In its last 9 races, it had never placed higher than 8. But Barney made sure of it. He intentionally entered Yellow Sam in races on muddy tracks and heavy ground, conditions the horse absolutely hated. This tanked the horse's official rating even lower, making it eligible for a handicapped race. But the secret truth was that Yellow Sam was incredibly fast when running on hard, dry ground. Barney purposefully ran him in terrible conditions just to qualify him as the ultimate underdog. Barney specifically targeted a national hunt race at the Bellstown Racecourse on June 26, 1975. But the horse was only a small piece of the massive puzzle. He chose Bellstown for one brilliant, highly specific reason. There was only one single public telephone booth at the entire racecourse. Back then, the gambling network worked like this. Hours before a race, people would place their bets at betting shops all across the country. The betting shops were constantly on the phone with the bookies at the actual racecourse. If a massive amount of money suddenly poured in on a specific horse at the shops, the managers would instantly call the track bookies to lower the odds on that horse so they wouldn't lose a fortune. But the golden rule was that the exact second the race started, the odds were completely locked in and could never be changed. Barney realized that if he could somehow block that single phone booth at Bellstown at the absolute last second, the off-track betting shops would be completely cut off from the track bookie. The track bookies would have absolutely no idea what was happening outside, and Yellow Sam's massive 20-to-1 odds would remain perfectly frozen right up until the race started. But it had to be executed flawlessly. If the track bookies suspected anything was wrong with the phone, they would panic and slash the odds on every single horse just to be safe. It required absolute precision and an army of loyal friends. Barney recruited over 300 trusted people across Ireland and the UK. He gave them sealed envelopes containing between 50 and 300 pounds in cash, with strict instructions to walk into their local betting shops and bet it all on Yellow Sam precisely minutes before the race started. To pull this off, Barney scraped together 15,000 pounds, his entire life saving. If the plan failed, he wouldn't just be broke. He would be utterly destroyed by debt and likely thrown in prison. The day of the race finally arrived. Hours before the start, people were placing normal bets. Just as Barney planned, Yellow Sam was sitting at a massive 20-to-1 payout because his official record was complete garbage. Exactly 25 minutes before the race, a man named Benny walked up to the solitary public phone booth at the Bellstown Racecourse. Benny was one of Barney's most trusted associates, and his one job was to hold that phone hostage. Benny picked up the receiver, dialed a fake number, and instantly started sobbing uncontrollably. The people waiting in line were patient at first, but Benny dramatically cried that his beloved aunt was on her deathbed, and this might be his very last conversation with her. The crowd felt terrible for him, but the track bookies in line were starting to panic. Barney had given Benny strict instructions. If anyone tries to rip the phone out of your hands, smash the receiver into pieces, but absolutely do not let anyone make a call. For 25 agonizing minutes, Benny stood in the booth, crying and talking to dial tone. And the exact second the race officially started, Benny hung up the phone, wiped his tears, walked out of the booth, and completely vanished into the crowd. During those 25 minutes, Barney's 300-man army flooded betting shops across the country, dumping a staggering amount of cash on Yellow Sam. Frantic betting managers desperately tried to call the track to lower the odds, but every single time they called, the line was busy. The track bookies had absolutely no idea a financial tsunami was hitting the betting shop. The race started, and Yellow Sam's 20-to-1 odds were officially locked in. Barney was watching the whole thing unfold through binoculars while hiding in the thorny bushes. The moment the gates opened, Yellow Sam, finally running on the hard, dry ground he loved, exploded with terrifying speed. He easily blew past the crowd favorite and effortlessly cleared all 13 hurdles, winning the race by a massive 2.5 lengths. When the race ended and the off-track betting shops finally got through to the track bookies, absolute chaos erupted. The bookies realized they had been masterfully hustled. They hunted down Benny, the crying man from the phone booth, but he just smiled and said, "It's a miracle. My aunt is suddenly feeling much better." He completely denied even knowing who Barney Curley was. Now the bookies had to pay up. Barney had invested £15,000 across the country at 20-to-1 odds. The bookies owed him a staggering £300,000, which is the equivalent of roughly $3.5 million today. Furious, the bookies retaliated by paying him the massive fortune entirely in single £1 notes, filling 108 massive garbage bags with cash. The coup made front-page headlines across Ireland and the UK. Barney Curley became an absolute legend overnight. The greatest part of the entire story? He never broke a single law. He simply found the ultimate weakness in the system and played it perfectly. Immediately after the heist, bookies completely rewrote the rules, making it mandatory to have a 30-minute buffer before accepting large bets. Barney continued to execute brilliant gambling coups for decades, proving even in his 70s that his mind was sharper than ever. He sadly passed away from cancer on May 23, 2021, at the age of 81. The global horse racing community mourned him, honoring him as an absolute genius and the Robin Hood of racing. He was a man who not only possessed the rare brilliance to legally rob a rigged system, but the incredible heart to quietly give away millions of his winnings to the poor. Thanks for watching Voxen TV. If this story was worth your time, drop a like and hit subscribe. It genuinely helps us grow. See you in the next one.